graduation, prom, requirements, that kind of stuff. So, tonight, come to the party. You want to be there. I don't know if there's food. Can't answer that for you. Okay, anything off the first page of your review?
Yeah, let's do like...
Okay. So you want me to pick?
Yeah, you pick.
Okay. Let's do number 4. Okay, good idea. Okay, number 4, what do I pick for my U?
The box underneath the square root.
So 2x squared minus 1, that means that du is 4x dx, which means that dx is du over 4x. Good so far? Okay, then we're going to rewrite our integral. So it'll be 8x on top, cubic root of u, and then du over 4x. And then remember, that has to happen so the x's can cancel. You can bring random numbers out to the front, but you can't bring x's outside. So 8 divided by 4 means I'm pulling a 2. Integral 1 over cubic root u du. And what do I do from there? I do have to integrate, but I need to turn it into a power. U to the negative 1/3. Yeah. Okay, because it's a third, because it's a cubic root. It's negative because it's on the bottom. So if I add 1 to that, that's like adding 3/3 to negative 1/3, which would be 2/3. And then divide by 2/3. What do I get in the front? Just flip it. 2/3 flipped is 3/2. But then times by 2 plus c. And then for my last step, I'll notice the 2's are going to cross out. And then I'm looking for the answer. That's 3u to the 2/3 plus c. But remember that u is a 2x squared minus 1. So it'd be 2x squared minus 1 to the 2/3 plus c. Which one's it going to be? Good, good. Want to do one with endpoints? See what's on the next page. Why don't we do the secant tan one, number 7 on the back with endpoints? Okay? You will be allowed to use your yellow sheet. Number 7. So if you do not already know this, secant tan is on your rules sheet. The integral of secant u tan u du is secant u plus c. I don't know what rule it is, but it's on that yellow sheet with all the different rules on there. So if secant tan already has an integral, I need to just pick the middle. So what is my u that's inside secant u tan u? 2x. So if my u is a 2x, what does that make my du? 2 dx, which makes my dx a du over 2. So when I rewrite my integral, it's going to be the integral of secant u tan u du over 2. I'm just going to put a half in the front. Are we good with that? Okay, because remember, technically it would have been here, but then I would have ended up moving it to the front anyway, so I'm just going to put the half there. Okay, from there, what's the integral of secant u tan u? Secant u. So technically it's a 1/2 secant u. And then I'm not going to put a plus c because I have endpoints. Now, you have 2 choices. You go back to the 2x and use the original endpoints, or you just change the endpoints, which is what I'm going to do. So if these are my original endpoints, I'm going to plug them in here. So I'll have 2 times pi 6. What's that? F of pi thirds. And then I'll do 0 plugged in. 2 times 0 means my other endpoint is going to stay a 0. Now, do you remember how to find secant? Yes, so find cosine and then just flip it. So, hand trig, you're going to do pi thirds is here. Cosine's on top. So it'd be 1/2. And then I want to flip that, so I'd get a 2. Yes. So I'm finding 1/2, I'm flipping it to get 2, but then I already had a 1/2 from right here. So then half of 2 gives me 1. Okay. Next I'm doing 0. So 1/2 of secant 0. Okay, well what's cosine of 0? Cosine of 0 is 1. Flip 1 over 1, you still get 1. And then half of 1 is a half. Then what do I do with those two guys? Subtract. 1 minus a half gives me a half. Very good, very good. Okay, next one, let's just do one of those two. You do have to know how to change the endpoints in case they ask you which is equivalent. Do you want to do 9 or 10? 9? Okay, well, they already told you what your u is. Okay, u is going to be 3 minus 2x. Then what's your du? Negative 2 dx. Which means that dx is du over negative 2. And then when I come back to rewrite my integral, notice that they're leaving it with u's in. So I'm going to have the integral of sine u du over negative 2. Then I'm going to pull that negative 2 to the front. So I'll have negative a half integral sine u du. So I see that the negative half is on 3 answer choices. I can eliminate A. How do I pick between the remaining 3 answer choices? Plug in the endpoints into U, correct. So I'm going to take 0 and 4, I'm going to plug them in here. So I'll have 3 minus 2 times 4, 3 minus 2 times, oops, that's a 0. Okay, 2 times 4 is 8. What's 3 minus 8? Negative 5, that should be my new upper endpoint. And then my lower endpoint is 3 minus 2 times 0, which is 3 minus 0, which is just a 3. So my lower endpoint should be a 3, which means I'm picking which one? C. Make sense? Okay, almost the exact same thing on number 10. Do we want to do it, or are you good? Huh? Yeah, so which of these answers is the same? Yes, ma'am?
Why didn't it take the integral of sine?
Okay, the reason why, that's a great question. Okay, so like look at this one. What's the integral of little f? Capital F, and then they subtracted the answers. Here, they're only asking you to rewrite the integral. So the only reason I didn't take the integral of sine is because they didn't ask me to. They're saying which integral here is equivalent to this integral here. So they're having you match it before you even take the antiderivative. Do you want to just go ahead and do this one so you see the difference? Okay, what would your u be? Okay, 5x, that means that your du is just a 5 dx, which means dx is du over 5. Good so far? Okay, then I have little integral of fu du over 5. Is it okay if we just put the fifth in the front? Okay, then my upper and lower endpoints need to be plugged in here. So if I do 2 times 5, what's the top endpoint now? 10. Then I take 1 times 5. What's the lower endpoint now? 5. If it was like this question, I'd be at my answer. I'd be done. But they want me to go a step further. What is the integral of little fu? Capital Fu. And then what would I do? I'd do capital F of 10 minus capital F of 5. But then what's in the very front? The fifth. And remember, that applies to both of those. So the only difference is here they're saying stop when you've rewritten it, versus on this question on number 10, they're actually making you follow it all the way through. So which answer choice would be correct? D. Okay, you have to give each of them a fifth. That's why it'd have to be that one. You get it? You love it? Okay, how do you find average value for 11 and 12? Yeah. 1 over b minus a integral a to b f of x dx. And then, dang it, I was going to give you all a mini cheat sheet, but I forgot. You can still do it. But do we want to actually work one of those out? Or it's still u substitution. You just have a 1 over b minus a in front of it. Do you want to do one, or you got it? Okay, and then also let me point out on number 11, would you need u sub on that? Look at the equation. Would you need u sub on this? No. That would just be like a regular power rule. Okay, so your test, some of it needs u sub, but a lot of it doesn't. Yes, sir. A and B would be what? Yeah, so this is an interval, so that means that my A is 0 and my B is 5. So, for example, on this one, it would be 1 over 5 minus 0 integral 0 to 5 of 6x squared plus 1 dx. So basically all that you'd have to do is work the integral out but keep the 1 over 5 in front. Or take the whole integral and then just remember to divide by 5 at the end. That would be the same. Okay? So 1/5, what's the antiderivative of that? Let's go one term at a time. 2x cubed plus x. Notice no plus c because I have what? Endpoints. Didn't do u sub, so I'm just using the original guys that they gave me. Okay, we're going to have 2 times 5 cubed is 125. Plus another x, which is another 5. 2 times 125 would be 250. Plus 5 more would be 255. I'm going to take 1/5 at the end after I subtract, yeah. And then f of 0, I would have 2 times 0 plus 0 is 0. What's 255 minus 0? And then I would just remember to take 1/5 of that. And I'm just going to leave that as the answer. You can divide that pretty easily. What would it be, 51? Yeah, but you don't have to. Up to you if you want to or not. Now, if it's a multiple choice, you might have to, right? But great. Okay, turn the page. Inverse trig, they're on your yellow sheet. We already did some of that yesterday. Or Friday. Let's do number 25. It's a good one to do. Okay, so it says let f be a twice differentiable function. Remember, that just means you're allowed to take the derivative twice. Then it says that f double prime is less than 0. Then it says the table gives values from 2 to 13. Really, it should be 1 to 13 if you want to fix that. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, it should be 1 to 13. Estimate f prime of 2. F prime is a slope. If I have f, I need to take the slope around what point to get to? Good. I'm going to do a rock from 1 to 4. Okay, because remember, I want 2 to be between it. So if I can't know the exact slope at 2, find the average slope from 1 to 4, and the slope's probably close to that. So I would do f of 4 minus f of 1 over 4 minus 1. What's f of 4? 4. What's f of 1? Over 4 minus 1 is 3 divided by 3, which is 1. That's the average slope on the interval. Is that if it went from 1, 1 to 4, 4, it went up 3 over 3. That's the average slope. Okay, part B. I want to do an integral. Okay, can you, yes or no, think about it, take the integral of that? Nod your head. Yes, you can. What's the integral of 3? 3x. What's the antiderivative of f prime? So regular f. No endpoints, so I don't have, or I have endpoints, so no plus c. Then on the top, I'm going to plug in a 13. On the bottom, I'm going to plug in a 1. So I'll have capital F of 13, capital F of 1. I'll have 3 times 13 minus 5 times F of 13. And then I'll have 3 times 1 minus 5 times F of 1. Does that make sense? So even if your stuff has an F prime in it, you can still integrate that regular. Integral of F prime is regular F. 3 times 13 is 39. And then look in your chart, what's F of 13? 6. And 5 times 6 is 30. So what's 39 minus 30? 9 on top. Okay, on bottom, 3 times 1 is 3. What's F of 1 in the chart? 1. 5 times 1 is still a 5. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. And then 9 minus negative 2 is 11. Good job. Okay, the one other thing that's coming back for your CBA we haven't done in a while is Riemann and trapezoidal sums. Trapezoidal sum, estimate 1 to 13. Do I have the same delta x or changing delta x's? Okay, it's the same every time. 1 to 4 is 3, 4 to 7 is 3, 3, 3. So my delta x is always 3. Then I can do the short version. So we would say 1 to 13 f of x dx approximated by 1/2. What are my first two bases? They should be y values. 1 plus 4, and then a delta x. Oh, wait, hold on. We're doing the short version. What's the delta x every time? 3. And then remember, on the short version, you can just do the first and the last bases once. Everybody else doubled. So it would be 1 plus 2 4s plus 2 negative 2s plus 2 3s plus 6. Okay, but one more time, why could I short version that? Because your delta x stayed the same. So let's pretend that wasn't the case and just start the long version. We don't have to work the whole thing out, but let's at least set it up to make sure you remember. So I'm going to put, or it would be 1/2, 1 plus 4 times the width between their x's. From 1 to 4, what's the width? 3 plus 1/2. Then I would repeat 4, but I would add it with a negative 2 the next time. So 4 plus negative 2, and then what's the delta x between 4 and 7, their x's? 3. 1/2 negative 2 plus 3 times 3. You get the idea? Okay, so remember, you should know how to do both. It really depends if you have the same subinterval each time or if you have changing subintervals each time. Okay? And those are both already on your purple cheat sheet. Okay, last part of the question. Is your answer over or under the actual value? On your cheat sheet it says how you tell. For a trapezoidal function, how do you know if the estimate's over or under? Concavity. And what did they tell us up here? F double prime's less than 0. What's the concavity? Okay, so let's draw a little picture. Concave down graph. Splice it into pieces. Draw your trapezoids. Well, remember, we want to know how are the trapezoids compared to the real area. So these trapezoids are a little bit too small. So it's an under. Make sense? So I'm going to put then trap is under actual value since F is concave down on 1 to 13. So it tells me that F double prime is negative. That tells me that it's concave down, which means my trapezoids will be under. Got it? Good. Okay, So what I want you to do now is let's do a little bit of calculator. Your CBA is in two parts. Part of it you have no calculator for the U sub and all that. But then at the end you have like 4 questions with a calculator. So if you don't have one, come and get one. And do number, whatever that is, 26. Need a calculator? Okay, go ahead and type your equation in, x squared sine x. Double check your mode. You should be in what mode? Radian. Anybody else need one? Okay, then how do I find average value? Using my calculator. 1 over b minus a. Integral a to b. Okay, average value is your formula. 1 over 3 minus 0. Integral 0 to 3. X squared sine x dx. Okay, there's literally a question on the calculator part exactly like this. So you should 100% get it right. As long as you don't forget to check your mode. Okay? So I'm in radian mode. Open up your fraction bar. I want 1 over 3 minus 0. You can type it in if you want to, or just put 1 over 3. Okay, then math 9, 0 to 3. Then the function x squared sine x dx. Boom. Answer 1.925. Easy, so easy, you love it? Okay, next part of the question. When does f of x equal that value? Well, then all that you have to do is set x squared sine x equal to 1.925 and solve. What will be the easiest way, though, for me to do that? Do it by graphing. Make this your y1. Make this your y2. What interval do I need to look at? Only a little tiny piece of the graph from where to where? 0 to 3. And remember, there's a rule that says whatever the average value is, I had to hit that at some point. So let's do it. In the calculator, my y equals, I'm typing in x squared sine x. My y value, 1.925. Okay, then the other thing I'm going to adjust before I graph it is my window. I don't care. I know sine goes like this. So it's going to hit that value over and over again. I only care about when it hits it on my interval. So my window, I'm going to make it 0 to 3. Okay? And then you can change this back to negative 10 to 10 if you want. The pre-cal kids are graphing stuff, so it might be messed up. Okay, there's my sine graph. There's my value, my average. Okay, notice about half the graph is under the average. About half the graph is over the average because it's the average. Okay. Then second trace, number 5. We want the intersection. And then I'm already close to it. There's your first one, 1.3979. And then the second one, second trace, doing option number 5, enter, and then for my guess, I'll guess like 2.8. Or you could cursor your little arrow over there. Okay, it's actually 2.9126. Okay, easy? Okay, so if you want to maybe draw a little picture, here's your picture. Okay, here's your average. Remember what we said about half the graph was over, half the graph was under, and then it crossed at those 2 spots. Okay, and then this is your average. Okay, turn to the last page. Good. Okay, 27. Particle's average velocity is given by v of t equals 6 over t plus 1. Let's go ahead and type that into our equation. 6 over x plus 1. Okay, remember your calculator doesn't have a t. It's fine. Just use an x. Okay, then it says the particle's position at 3 seconds is x of 3 equals 7. Part A. Find the average velocity. Is that a rock or 1 over b minus a? Okay, this. What is my equation? What do I want? That's average value. That's 1 over b minus a. Okay, so the reason why is they're the same y values. Okay, they're the same units, if you like that better. One of them is velocity. I want an average velocity. That's an average value. So in the calculator, you do 1 over. I want it on 0 to 4, so 4 minus 0, integral 0 to 4, v of t dt. Some of you guys like rewriting the entire function here. That's fine, but you don't have to. Okay, if that's v of t, you can use that word. Okay, so let's figure out what it is in the calculator. So I'm going to do math y equals, oops, not like that, alpha y equals 1 over 4 minus 0, math 9, 0 to 4, alpha trace y1 dx. Okay, if you don't know how to type that stuff in, there's a good chance that you're going to not get those calculator points. Got to be able to do that. Questions on how to do it? I did alpha trace, and it pulls down a list, and you just pick it. So if you wanted to integrate, like say you had a y2 as well, you could just scroll down and pick y2. Okay, second part of the question, what is average acceleration if I have velocity? That's a rock. And when you set it up, it should be v of 4 minus v of 0 over 4 minus 0. Remember why? Because acceleration is the slope of what? It's the slope of velocity. Okay, that's what rate of change means, is slope. So I'm going to set up my little fraction bar, and then I'm going to type it in just like that. Alpha trace of 4 minus alpha trace of 0 over 4 minus 0. I'm going to type it all in into one line. If you try to do it without the fraction bar, just make sure you parentheses the top and the bottom or it'll be wrong. Okay, you should get that. Did you get it? Okay, next part. Put a big star next to part C. Okay, you should know how to do version B of the fundamental theorem. Fundamental theorem is this. Do you remember what version B is? What's it solved for? F of B equals what? Minus or plus? Okay, they're the same thing. The only difference is that this version is solved for f of b. I'm going to use that in the next 3 questions. You have to know how to do this for your thing tomorrow. Okay, so first question, what position was I already given? Look back at the question. X of 3 is 7. This is what I have. What do I want the position at? So I want x of 10. I have x of 3. Then what do I integrate from? 3 to 10. And then what am I integrating if I want velocity? Or I'm sorry, if I want position? I'm integrating velocity. Does that make sense? If this is little f, the antiderivative is capital F. If I'm integrating velocity, the antiderivative is position. And then from here, what's x of 3? We already know what it is. 7 plus. And then this integral, I'm just going to put that in the calculator. Yeah? So I do math 9 from, where are we going, 3 to 10 of the function alpha trace y1 dx. Okay, that part came out